Hello and welcome to Discovering the World of Natural Health. I'm your host, Claiborne Holtzman, and my guest today will be Rich Pagan, and we'll have more from him as we go on and share some knowledge with you. Folks, this program is going to be another one of those you need to take notes. You need to write things down. You need to get the information we're going to share with you. You need to find out when they're going to replay this at 9 o'clock on Thursday evening, that you'll be able to see this again, and any other time that WHIG shows, we'll be able to show it. Because we're in February, and WHIG is endorsing a healthy heart. We're going to go back to some history. Rich is going to share some things with us which happened back in the 90s with his wife Robin and with Dean Ornish. And I've got a couple books up here. I got one by McDougall, John and Mary McDougall. I got The Green Pharmacy, which I'm excited about this book. This book has really taught me bukus. The other thing, we've got some things that we can talk about, like mineral chi tonic, liquid chlorophyll, Tygo. These are all things that endorse our bodies, minds, soul, spirit to be able to, get to know things better and teach us what to do. It hasn't gone away. It's gotten deeper because the rates of deaths in the heart area are higher. Yeah. Nothing has decreased. But they did back in the 90s, right, Rich?
Right, yeah.
And Rich, first of all, share with the audience why we can concretely say that we know that Dean Ornish and now a Dr. Greger, Dean Ornish is still alive, well, and kicking. Another guy by Dr. Greger, we're going to share some information with you about him as well. Rich, what happened in the 90s to make it so special?
Yeah, well, Dr. Ornish had done a landmark study that heart disease can be reversed, not just using medicines and scalpels, but through real radical lifestyle changes, and through changing diet, through stress handling. And so when that happened, the Heart Institute that my wife was going to, they decided to try a one-year program. And in that program, they called it The Better Way. They had a cardiologist, a nutritionist, they had a therapist, actually, and a yoga instructor. And with those four elements to make lifestyle changes, we're going to see whether or not we could reverse heart disease. Her mother had already died of heart disease. Her entire family had a heart disease history. And so it just seemed like, and a lot of people thought if you don't do surgery and harsh drugs, you really can't reverse things with lifestyle changes. But Dean Ornish's study found that they could, and so the Heart Institute in Fort Wayne, Indiana decided to also do a year of studying this. And my wife, I came as a support. There were about a dozen couples right then, and they took the measurements in the beginning of the study, and at the end they found that they could actually make significant improvement in just 1 year of lifestyle changes.
And of everybody that was in that controlled study, every one of them had a positive influence over and a better than they did at the beginning of that year.
Yes, everybody got markedly better. It was surprisingly better. They confirmed, what Dean Ornish had found, that yes, this does work. You don't have to do always radical surgeries or harsh drugs. Through lifestyle changes.
Well, when you do a bypass, it means you bypassed the problem and went around it, but you still have the problem that caused it, and it's going to come back.
Right.
It's going to come back.
Yeah.
Let me hold that up there for a second. Just you can hold on to it. I won't take your prop away from you. But this is the book we're talking about. The New York Times bestseller, Dr. Dean Ornish, Program for, listen, Reversing Heart Disease. And it's the only system scientifically proven to reverse heart disease without drugs or surgery. Now, we've got some more added to this since the 1990s, right?
Yeah.
When you say that Dr. Greger is, this is not the only anymore, but we've got people that are actually making things happen, and also found out that Medicare is helping to endorse Dr. Greger. So we're jumping back and forth to a couple things. May get you a little confused on Dean Ornish, may get you a little confused on the McDougall. What I'm trying to say to you is that if you will take and put into your body what your body's missing, it will heal itself.
Yeah.
And this is like remedy this naturally. Have a product here. This product, about 8 years ago, was the hottest item going, Tygo. And superior antioxidant supplement for immune health. You build the immune system, what happens? The rest of the body gets to go along. You come over here. Now, this is one of our best sellers in the store. It's called Mineral Chi or Mineral Chai Tonic. And what it does, it balances the meridians. I'll just read to you on the back of the bottle. Nature's sunshine combines the finest source of liquid trace minerals with time-honored Chinese tonic adaptogen herbs. Lighten up your energy system with mineral and Chinese tonic herbs. Support important electrochemical reactions and balance the body. Chinese Mineral Chi acts as an all 12 acupressure point meridians and energizes all 5 constitutional types. So that is, I have this saying, and it may not be the coolest way of putting it, but it's better than, and helps better than a pregnant ant in a wagon wheel rut. Get you out of that rut, keep on going. Richie, back to you. Go back right when you started this program. What were the issues that Robin was dealing with? And and there were probably other people that you related to while you were in this class for a year, met once a week, is that right?
Yeah, sir.
And met with people that were there to help, with a medical doctor, yoga instructor, a nutritionist, and a therapist. At the beginning of this, what was being dealt with?
Yeah, everyone had degenerative heart disease. The conventional work at that time was harsh drugs and surgery, bypass valves, different. And it was pretty much said that when heart disease had gotten to that point, there was no way of reversing it through lifestyle. But then there was this very promising research that yes, lifestyle changes, the right ones, can not only halt progression, but actually reverse heart disease.
Now,
cardiovascular disease.
And I looked at a Oprah Winfrey. She was doing a Dr. Greger interview and checking him out. What happened in the Dean Ornish program? What you named some of the things that were happening, and can you tell us what was changing? What was making the change? In other words, you hit upon it, and I guess I'm just asking you to reiterate it, because some people may have just chopped on the TV and not. But what was it that was happening to reverse something? What changes were made?
Yeah. Yeah, lifestyle changes. First of course, diet. It was more. The animal protein was very much brought down. A lot of the processed foods were very much brought down. It was whole food, plant-based, largely. I think there was some egg whites, but that was processing and especially animal protein, fat was brought down a lot. Then, along with that, there were group meetings of all the heart patients and their spouses in order to encourage people to stick with the program.
So you had a person joining the program, but you also had a support group by including someone in their immediate family to help.
Right.
What happened with that?
It motivated people as long as there was a group. Everybody got better. Everybody made much bigger lifestyle changes than just if they tried to do it on their own. I mean, everybody makes resolutions beginning of the year. How long do those resolutions last when a person's just doing it on their own?
Wow.
But with the support of others, and I mean, we found that even in addictions, with the support of others and with a good, intelligently made, program of the right kind of lifestyle changes, it is amazing what will happen. The body can then wind up reversing.
Okay. You mentioned the word addiction. Were there people in this program that an addiction had caused them to end up with a bad heart?
Well, in a sense, there are not just substance addictions. There are a lot of different addictions that are out there. So you can be a stress addict, addicted to a form of whatever stress. And so we had to get people to handle their stress much better than they were doing before. That was part of it. To reach out as well relationally, because that can wind up hurting the person's whole constitution. And a lot of times it can come out in heart. It can come out in a lot of different areas. I think it was more that unhealthy American diet, really, standard American diet. Sometimes standard American diet, SAD, sad. But
cool.
Was and lifestyle that had to be changed. That just relying on surgery and drugs wasn't really going to do it. And so they found that they could actually make changes and reversals, not just hold the progress, but actually reverse if they could get people into meaningful lifestyle changes. That meaningful lifestyle changes had to be supported by a group of others who are also encouraging them, each other.
All right. You said there was a yoga instructor.
Yeah, in handling, well, there had to be some, yoga breathing, yoga stretches. You get under stress and you need to just calm the entire person down.
Okay.
And so that was seen as important because stress management affects the heart, affects all kinds of things, really, the whole body.
And the reason I'm asking you to expound on that, we live in the South, and we have people in some denominations think that yoga is a Western, Eastern religion.
Oh, no.
And being involved in religion as you are, what do you know about the comparison between what yoga can do and not being negative toward a person's belief or faith?
Yeah, no, it was the for example, stretches are stretches. Now, we're not thinking of any particular yoga gods or religion there. That learning how to be able to, properly breathe in a way that is stress reducing. That was also very beneficial. And then often people with heart disease wind up posture. Everything it becomes this perpetuating, like, snowballing effect. And so when the stress is building up, you can, through breathing and stretching, and ease the stress at that point. And a lot of times you just have to, stop the snowball from going at that particular moment, because then often you can get into, because of runaway stress, you can get into stress eating, and stress eating usually is not of healthy foods.
It's kind of like sweet.
Yeah, sweet and meat, basically. Yeah.
But no, I think we need to understand that our faith is very critical.
Yeah.
Because, when it comes to heart, people basically have a bad heart because they have a bad relationship with something or somebody, and it affects the heart physically as it does the heart spiritually.
Yeah, worry about the future, anger about the past, guilt about the past, not being able to live, properly in the present.
Because, I think of a verse, as a man, can be a woman too, thinketh in their heart, so are they. So if a person has got bitterness toward something or someone, then that is not following the scripture.
Right.
Because I don't think that was the one that God wanted us to do.
Right.
So I see, along with this, the spiritual aspect is critical to making things work. Mm-hmm. So the yoga was basically a relaxation.
Yes.
It was getting control, slowing down a moment to breathe.
Right.
That's what people say, hey, slow down, breathe.
That's right, yeah.
And so I think that was critical.
Yeah.
Then you use a nutritionist.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was tough. Like the book I got here, I just put it in a Green Pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is absolutely wonderful. James A. Duke. He studied the world over and studied plants, brought many plants back to the United States for them to make medicine out of.
Mm-hmm.
But the foundation was not only the Green Pharmacy, but the foundation was God's Pharmacy.
Yeah.
So if you can get God's Green Pharmacy, and think about it, what was eaten and what was the source of energy and enlightenment with Adam and Eve? What they have? What did they eat? You're the pastoral expert.
Yeah. Well, that their diet. It was plant-based. It was whole food plant-based right there, right in the garden. They weren't killing and eating animals at that point.
They should have killed the snake, though.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Because instead of it being Cain and Abel, make it the sly one.
Yeah.
So we got nutritionist, therapist. What role does a therapist play? What do they do?
In this case, the therapist was basically helping conduct a small group meeting in which everyone was encouraging each other to stick to the program, stick to the lifestyle changes. Mm-hmm. And if there was stress about the future, or if there was guilt about the past or anger about the past, of course those things had to be let go of because they sabotage the body. They put the body in a state that is just not healthy. And so the fact that we were there for each other, that we were encouraging one another, it made a huge difference in whether or not people would stick to the lifestyle changes. Otherwise it becomes individuals making resolutions. Everybody makes New Year's resolutions, and how long do they last? But when others are brought in, when there's accountability and encouragement, that makes a huge amount of difference.
Expound on that a little bit about what the therapist would do and how they can work one with another. Is that a person that has been educated in being able to see red flags pop up?
Yeah, and a lot of times the presenting issue is not what's really going on. A person may present that I'm depressed. Well, if you really begin, they talk about it. It's like, well, no, I'm very hurt about what was
And the
done to
hurt
me.
is causing the depression.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so and so it isn't always just dealing with the presenting issue. There's really an issue behind that one that's presenting itself immediately.
So people are watching us and they're getting the benefit of a wealth of knowledge and information that you have physically, mentally, spiritually been able to see changes over the years and been able to implement it. Have you been able to, when someone's come to you saying, I've got this going on, just listen to me, and then if you got something to share, will you share your testimony and be able to help? How does that play in your role as a pastor?
Yeah. First you have to listen. You really have to listen to where a person is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, if we're afraid in the future, worrying about the future, that's going to ruin the present. If we're angry about whatever's happened in the past, that's going to affect you, right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're you can, he said, give us this day. And their passage in the Lord's Prayer, and this is the day the Lord, has made. Let us rejoice. So we can choose to live life one day at a time, with God's presence there, helping us, being with us. It makes a huge difference. And so there isn't that spiritual aspect which is bringing you down, which affects your physical health, it affects your relationships, affects everything.
So, okay, let's go to the fourth component that was in going with the Dean Ornish program, and that was the medical doctor. What was their role?
They wound up testing and assessing where a person started, where they ended. There was also monitoring in between to see whether, if there were changes that were happening that could actually be seen in a person's labs, in a person's EKG, in a person's, where did the person start off, and then were there improvements? And everybody who went through the program showed significant improvement during the year and at the end of the year.
Now, you said everybody showed improvement.
Yeah, all the patients did. Actually, even some of the people that were coming along as support, the spouses or whoever came as support, a lot of times they also did. But there was mainly focus on people with this more severe heart disease, and everybody showed improvement. And normally that's just a steady decline. The conventionalism before this was that you're gonna need surgery, you're gonna need drugs, but even with those, it's downhill slide for cardiovascular disease, and it was the number one killer in our country.
So, folks, what we're sharing is history.
Mm-hmm.
We're sharing something that happened back in the 1990s, okay? And looking where we are now in 2023.
Yeah.
And we're still looking at this being Heart Month, February. And it's being one that's there for to be knowledge being presented. Especially WHIG has a lot of people lined up in the cardiovascular field to come and share and encourage you to do what you need to do to preserve your life and wellness. And then myself, work at Remedy This Naturally, the health food store. And we, over the years, have seen just with a drink like the Tai Chi, how it balances the meridians in the body, how the focus. And that is kind of cool because we're going to talk about 12 different foods, or what do they refer to? The 12...
the Daily Dozen.
The Daily Dozen.
Yeah.
And we have them available to show you how a program that Dr. Greger is doing now, currently. In other words, we bring it up with talking about Dean Ornish and what he did back in the 90s with people I know. The sad part of it, Rich, Robin did so good on this program. But then tell us what happened at the end of the year.
Yeah. At the end of the year, even though everyone had done better, they decided not to continue the program at the Heart Institute. And I know in Robin's case that my wife, she was able to go on for a while on her own, but without that support of other people, where we're encouraging each other, went back to her, old diet, and her heart condition became much worse. I saw her flatline twice, right there, right in front of me. And one time they were able to bring her back in the hospital, and the other time not really. And that was after 50 years of marriage.
But things that seem to happen, no matter what the ailment is, no matter what the disease is, no matter what is going on in our body that is not, quote unquote, the normal, that the way it was designed to be, as in the Garden of Eden. I mean, there was no sickness, there was no death.
Right.
There was the opportunity to move forward and enjoy and be so pleasant and helpful and loving that the Creator walked with them in the cool of the evening.
Yeah.
That is so neat.
Yeah.
And what the point I'm trying to get across, and whomever God has in front of this WHIG TV at this moment is able to see that there is life, there's hope, and there is the ability to become whole again. And what is even worse now is that it used to be that people's heart gave out 70s, 80s, 90s, 100 years into their life, but now it's something that even being born with. So those are some of the things there that are really, I guess what I want to say is there is hope, but we do not preach hope. We preach survival. And that's the big difference. In what the natural store, like Remedy This Naturally, our goal is to take something like Tygo, take the information and use it for the betterment of the person's body. One thing we probably sell more of anything else is this little product right in the middle right here called liquid chlorophyll, which is quote unquote plant blood. Now, what are we talking about when it comes to the healing of the heart? We're talking about a plant-based, basically greens, overcoming and helping with that. And then with the Tygo, with the meridians, to be able to keep that energy there again. What you've got someone that brought this information over from the Orient, and they have been able to use this for thousands of years to keep their people alive and well and productive. Rich, what is it that the biggest thing you got out of being in the class with Dr. Dean Ornish and the doctors and the nurses and I would say more than anything else, the people that became part of the class.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to see that lifestyle changes can make a tremendous difference. And it's not only, for heart disease too. They found, similar things for cancer. Most malignant tumors are covered with IGF-1 receptors, insulin growth factor receptors. Yeah. Well, those grow. They're looking for. They react to animal protein. If a person's just plant-based, those receptors aren't activated, and the malignant tumor does not grow the way it normally does in the case of a malignant tumor. But if you've got a heavy animal protein diet, the malignant tumors become malignant and grow very fast, and the cancer spreads. And especially as we get older, we have tumors. Now, are they going to grow, or are they going to be kept small and allow us to, to thrive into our old age? A lot has to do with lifestyle. A lot has to do with what we eat, how we approach each day, how we're approaching our future, how we're reflecting on our past, our relationship with God. And we have control. We just do not have to be victims that I can't do anything. I just need to take these harsh medicines and surgeries. I mean, I'm not saying that all surgeries are wrong, but there are many diseases that could be prevented just with the proper lifestyle.
So just because someone said, I'm a diabetic, my mom and my dad were diabetics, my brother and my sister were diabetics, therefore I know I'm going to be a diabetic.
Yeah.
But aren't we still sucking down the same food?
Yeah. If
that caused it for the parents and the grandparents.
Right.
Now where you are, if it doesn't do something about it, it's going to be the kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and which is why you'll see what they call the blue zones. In the United States, certain, I think in Loma Linda, California, it's Seventh-day Adventist community that have that lifestyle. Okinawan diet, which is over 96% plant-based. Other areas of the world, there are people are living thriving into old age, not just the way, unfortunately, it's happening in America.
In other words, someone gets old, put them in a healthcare institute, and spend the rest of their days there. And
people believe that, well, it's just inevitable. As I get older, I'm going to put on weight, I'm going to get sicker, I'm going to do all these particular... And there are a lot of things that really don't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. If we, you might say, open our heart, if eating and relationally and spiritually, if we, look at the whole person, the whole woman, the whole man, and live in the right kind of lifestyle, you can thrive.
It's amazing. I think we've talked about Dean Ornish. I've mentioned Dr. Greger, and there is a little bit of an excerpt that I want us to be able to see, and what is in a typical 12s, the
Daily Dozen.
Daily Dozen, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't get. I think of the Dirty Dozen, but these are the Cleansing Dozen. And Lee, if you have available, and you were able to pull that up, go ahead and play that segment there with the nutrition, and we'll come back to us, and we'll wrap this thing up on Heart Week. So I'll keep talking till you get it.
In my book, How Not to Die, I suggest we try to center our diets around whole plant foods. But some plants are healthier than others. For example, you can apparently live extended periods eating practically nothing but white potatoes. That would, by definition, be a whole food plant-based diet, but not a very healthy one. All plant foods are not created equal. The more I researched over the years, the more I've come to realize that healthy foods are not necessarily interchangeable. Some foods and food groups have special nutrients not found in abundance elsewhere. For example, sulforaphane, the amazing liver enzyme detox-boosting compound, is derived nearly exclusively from cruciferous vegetables. You could eat tons of other kinds of greens and vegetables on a given day and get no appreciable sulforaphane if you didn't eat something cruciferous. It's the same with flax seeds and the anti-cancer lignan compounds. Flax may average 100 times more lignans than other foods. And mushrooms aren't even plants at all. They belong to an entirely different biological classification and may contain nutrients like ergothioneine, not made anywhere in the plant kingdom. So technically, maybe I should be referring to a whole food plant and fungus-based diet, but that just sounds kind of gross. It seems like every time I come home from the medical library buzzing with some exciting new data, my family rolls their eyes, sighs, and asks, "What can't we eat now?" Or they'll say, "Wait a second, why does everything seem to have parsley in it all of a sudden," or something. They're very tolerant. As the list of foods I try to fit into my daily diet grew, I made a checklist and had it up on a little dry erase board on the fridge, and we'd make a game out of ticking off the boxes. This evolved into my daily dozen, the checklist of all the things I try to fit into my daily routine. By beans, I mean legumes, which also include split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. While eating a bowl of pea soup or dipping carrots into hummus may not seem like eating beans, it certainly counts. We should try to get 3 servings a day. A serving is defined as a quarter cup of hummus or bean dip, half cup of cooked beans, split peas, lentils, tofu, or tempeh, or a full cup of fresh peas or sprouted lentils. Though peanuts are technically legumes, nutritionally I've grouped them in the nuts category, just as I would shunt green beans, snap peas, and string beans into the other vegetables category. A serving of berries is a half cup fresh or frozen, or quarter cup of dried. While biologically speaking, avocados, bananas, and even watermelons are technically berries, I'm using the colloquial term for any small edible fruit, which is why I include kumquats and grapes, and raisins, as well as fruits that are typically thought of as berries, but actually technically aren't, such as blackberries, cherries, mulberries, raspberries, and strawberries. For other fruits, a serving is a medium-sized fruit, a cup of cut-up fruit, or a quarter cup of dried fruit. Again, I'm using the colloquial rather than the botanical definition, so I place tomatoes in the other vegetables group. Common cruciferous vegetables include broccoli, cabbage, collards, and kale. I recommend at least 1 serving a day, typically a half cup, and at least 2 additional servings of greens a day, cruciferous or otherwise. Serving sizes for other greens and vegetables are a cup for raw leafy vegetables, a half cup for other raw or cooked non-leafy vegetables, and a quarter cup for dried mushrooms. Everyone should try to incorporate 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds into their daily diet, in addition to a serving of nuts or other seeds. A quarter cup of nuts is considered a serving, or 2 tablespoons of nut or seed butters, including peanut butter. Chestnuts and coconuts, though, don't nutritionally count as nuts. I also recommend 1/4 teaspoon a day of the spice turmeric, along with any other salt-free herbs and spices you may enjoy. A serving of whole grains can be considered a half cup of hot cereal, such as oatmeal, cooked whole grains, or so-called pseudo-grains like amaranth, buckwheat, and quinoa, or a half cup of cooked pasta or corn kernels, a cup of ready-to-eat cold cereal, 1 tortilla or slice of bread, half a bagel or English muffin, or 3 cups of air-popped popcorn. The serving size in the beverage category is 1 glass, 12 ounces, and the recommended 5 glasses a day is in addition to the water you get naturally from the foods in your diet. I explain my rationale in my video, How Many Glasses of Water Should We Drink a Day? Finally, I advise 1 daily serving of exercise, which can be split up over the day. I recommend 90 minutes of moderate-intensity activity each day, such as brisk 4 miles per hour walking, or 40 minutes of vigorous activity, such as jogging or active sports, each day. I explain my reasoning for that in my video, How Much Should You Exercise? This may all sound like a lot of boxes to check, but it's easy to knock off a bunch at a time. 1 simple peanut butter banana sandwich, and you just checked off 4 boxes. Or imagine sitting down to a big salad. 2 cups of spinach, a handful of arugula, a handful of walnuts, a half cup of chickpeas, a half cup of red bell pepper, and a small tomato. You just knocked out 7 boxes in one dish. Sprinkle on your flax, add a handful of goji berries, and enjoy it with a glass of water and fruit for dessert, and you just wiped out nearly half your daily check boxes in a single meal. And then if you just ate it on your treadmill— just kidding. Do I check off each glass of water I drink? No. In fact, I don't even use the checklist anymore. I just used it initially as a tool to get me into a routine. Whenever I was sitting down to a meal, I would ask myself, could I add greens to this? Could I add beans to this? I always have an open can of beans in the fridge. Can I sprinkle on some flax or pumpkin seeds, or maybe some dried fruit? The checklist just got me into the habit of thinking, how can I make this meal even healthier? I also found the checklist help with grocery shopping. Although I always keep bags of frozen berries and greens in the freezer, if I'm at the store and want to buy fresh produce for the week, it helps me figure out how much kale or blueberries I need. The checklist also helps me picture what a meal might look like. Looking over the checklist, you see that there are 3 servings each of beans, fruits, and whole grains, and about twice as many vegetables in total than any other component. So glancing at my plate, I can imagine 1/4 of it filled with grains, 1/4 with legumes, and a half of the plate filled with vegetables, along with maybe a side salad and fruit for dessert. I happen to like one-bowl meals where everything's mixed together, but the checklist still helps me to visualize. Right? Instead of a big bowl of spaghetti with some veggies and lentils on top, I think of a big bowl of vegetables with some pasta and lentils mixed in. Instead of a big plate of quinoa with some stir-fried vegetables on top, I picture a meal that's mostly vegetables, and oh look, there's some quinoa and beans in there too. But there's no need to be obsessive about the daily dozen. On hectic travel days, when I've burned through my snacks, stuck in some airport food court somewhere, sometimes I'm lucky if I even hit 1/4 of my goals. Right? If you eat poorly one day, just try to eat better the next. To help track your progress, volunteers created Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen apps for both iPhone and Android. You can download and use them both for free, no ads, no cost. My hope is that the checklist will just serve as a helpful reminder to try to eat a variety of some of the healthiest foods every day.
Everything there's free. The stories about the things that have been done. Dr. Greger reads every medical journal that's written in English, right? Is that—
Yeah, all the ones that have to do with nutrition, so that he knows what is coming up, and he does that every month. He's going through it, yes.
And what I'm going to do is, on the back of the book right here, Dr. Dean Ornish, Program for Reversing Heart Disease. Dr. Dean Ornish is the first clinician to offer documents proof that heart disease can be halted or even reversed simply by changing your lifestyle. Based on this internationally acclaimed scientific study, Dr. Ornish's program has yielded amazing results. Participants reduced or discontinued medication. Their chest pain diminished or disappeared. They felt more energetic, happy, and calm. They lost weight while eating more, and blockage in coronary arteries were actually reversed. And in the book that Dr. Dean Ornish wrote, presents his and other dramatic evidence and guides step by step through the extraordinary Opening Your Life Heart program, which is winning landmark approval from America's health insurers. They don't have to pay as much out if you can do it with a diet. Insurance companies love the program.
Yeah.
The program takes you beyond the purely physical side of health care to include the psychological, emotional, spiritual aspects so vital to healing. So the book he wrote represents modern medicine has to offer in being able to do it with a plant-based diet. I'm going to ask Rich to reiterate, because this was back in the 1990s. Then we've got now Dr. Greger and what he's doing and making things available, and all of his lectures and books and tapes all going to foundations or nonprofits to help. So Rich, what I've got here for you folks is an icon who knows what can happen and what did happen for his wife. And then when they closed the study down after 1 year of success, because it was getting out of hand with people wanting to take this program and change it by just doing diet.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Right. Yeah. It was a shame that the individuals that were in it were responding so well, and they would have stayed. But the Heart Institute decided to just do the conventional medicine, surgeries. There is no big broccoli, that's paying people this way. So people did not, gradually, some people faster, some people, I don't know of any of them that actually kept the gains that they had made in that simple year. Because by yourself, unless you have support of other people, in some way, you're not going to continue.
What's the answer today, Rich? Here you go. And it's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show.
Oh, happy.
And to know that in your mind, in your heart, in your physical being, your total self, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, plant-based eating and living will change the person's life to a better quality of life. And not only will it change, it can reverse heart and other situations where we live in this body.
Yeah, it's very true. Very, very true. I mean, I'm a Christian. This body doesn't belong to me. So I just don't have the right to abuse it.
Okay.
And so if it's God's body, it's then I'm to take care of it. And actually, when I'm living, yes, there's an eternity. I mean, life is preparation for eternity. But when I'm living one day at a time, this is the day the Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's I will be glad in it somehow, but I'm still, I can choose. I don't have to be the victim. I don't have to worry about the future. I've got a God that cares. I can forgive myself for what I've done wrong in the past. I can forgive others because I've been forgiven. This thing called grace. And then we can relate to others. We can open our heart spiritually, and it also helps, physically. And we don't have to age in the same way. I mean, everyone is going to die, but they're not thriving. They're not fully living if they're not doing it God's way, really.
So we can go back to the foundation.
Yeah.
Where we came from.
Yeah.
And that was when God built this beautiful place for vacationing, right? But he built a beautiful place and had to have man to make it fulfilled.
Yeah.
But then man there again tried to do himself. And I think really, if we want to put the picture in the perspective it needs to be,
yeah,
we're no better off right now than they were in the Garden of Eden. And why I say that is, we as human beings have a tendency to get sick and tired of our Creator trying to influence us in what we are supposed to do.
Right.
And say, I'm not going to do it your way, Creator God. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
And if we continue to eat and live the way we're living, we're going to die the way that punishes our body because we're not giving it what it needs to be fulfilled.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So
Yes.
I mean, that's what I see. I see basically we're looking at what it can do for me and not what it can do, as you just said, what can it do for the body you live in that you are renting, just maintaining.
Yeah.
And the way we maintain this body we live in is how well God's going to smile with us, and his power coming through us in how we accept it and how we radiate instead of being gloom, doom, and agony on me.
Right.
I think we got it where we're doing the same thing Adam and Eve did.
Yeah. We're rejecting what is clear. There, God has a clear way of living.
Yeah.
Physically, spiritually, relationally.
I mean, even Oprah Winfrey, she was interviewing Dr. Greger, and he said there's only 4 things you need to remember. And that was eat well, move around, love more, and stress less.
Yeah.
4 things
Right.
can change your life and your health. And this show will be the best show you've ever watched in your whole life if you will put that to practice. Listen, and Oprah says, you know how she's got to be. Well, does that mean sex? He said, absolutely. And that was loving more. But, you know, either we love or we don't.
Right.
Either we stress less. What's a good verse for that? Stress less.
Well, I mean, even Jesus said, "Don't take any thought for the morrow shall take thought for itself." You know, so he doesn't want us stressing. I know that it says, as I said, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And yeah.
And what we did, eat well, the Daily 12, and what was on there from Dr. Greger's website, and you can go check it out. But eat well, move more, love more, stress less.
Yeah.
And we've had the privilege of being able to, on this program, listen to a man that God used his family to reverse their heart disease. But when the people who were putting it on decided that we can't do this anymore because it doesn't pay for people just to eat vegetables and take things and do it in a nutritional standpoint. So, Richie, we got a minute left and a half. What do you want the audience to know? What is it that you can tell them that you went through, you're in the process of still becoming?
Yes, of course.
But is there hope for the people in the audience?
Yeah. One person can do, another person can do. And it was seen both in the program that we went through that, we can make changes physically. Of course, from what Jesus said, we can make changes spiritually and relationally, and you know, obviously, since this life is a preparation for eternity, we can receive the eternal as well.
Okay. So, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to Remedy This Naturally with Claiborne Holtzman and Rich Pagan today. It's your life, it's your health. Do the best you can with it. Remember, there are things that remedy this naturally that can assist you on your journey. But there again, keep it simple and listen to what God has to say, because He loves you, He cares for you, and He wants nothing better than you to make Him happy. So until we meet again, God bless you, take care, and we'll talk to you later.